The fallout continues for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior, which was just his latest in a series of lies. The reason he resorted to, I'm a knucklehead, was he got confronted with his latest lie that's been unearthed. There's a long list of them. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed. You know, whether you were in a place where hundreds of people are being massacred by their government when it happens. But he continues to try to say, like, oh, gee, I was just kind of confused. You know, that happened in May and I was there in August, but I guess I just imagined that I was there, whatever. So he got asked about that debate moment where he completely melted down on Wednesday in Pennsylvania, and here's how he handled it.
Look, I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me about 15 back and forth with my students, taking them to China. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear, I will tell you that, but here's my whole point on that thing with China. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands China. My clarity to take away from the message is something I want to be very clear. August of '89, into Hong Kong, into China, 15 times with students to try and do this. My point being on this, Kamala Harris and I understand American jobs are more important than where Donald Trump tried to save Chinese jobs.
Okay. So once again, the excuse for his lies, Michael, is I speak like everybody else. This is not the first time he's done this. I lie like everyone. Everyone lies. I'm not the only one. It's really what he's telegraphing. Remember the interview with Dana Bash where the issue of his stolen valor was brought up for 2 minutes? Watch. Remember?
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct.
The excuses with this guy for his lies, Michael. It's amazing to me that he continues with this and people aren't now just referring to him as pathological. Your thoughts?
His grammar is not always correct. Like when he's diagramming those sentences in the first grade, he accidentally mixed up the part where you're supposed to say, I never served in combat, and he substituted the one where he said, I did serve in combat, I was at Tiananmen Square, my wife and I used IVF to conceive our child. I mean, the real takeaway from this is, one, Tim Walz's low opinion of people. He says that everyone's a cynical liar. And in his defense, most of the people around him probably are cynical liars. The establishment media, the Democrat politicians, and he's very practiced in this himself. The other big takeaway, though, and it's where I have a little sympathy for the guy, maybe not empathy, but sympathy for the guy, is he has no good answer here. Because people very rarely lie a little bit. People very rarely lie about one thing and never about anything else. Either you're an honest person or you're not an honest person. Either you endeavor to be honest or you endeavor to deceive people. And so people do sometimes have a slip of the tongue. But that's not what's going on with Tim Walz here. In that first clip that you played, Megyn, Tim Walz, and he lies so much this wasn't even really noticed, he cops to another lie he's told. He's previously said that he's visited China 30 plus times. He said he's visited China on another occasion dozens of times. There, you heard him say that he's visited China 15 times. I don't know if he even knows how many times he's visited China. I don't know that he can any longer discern between truth and falsehood. He lies with ease, and there's a great deal of wisdom to the old idiom. What a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. He can't keep up with his own lies, and so he totally burned down on stage. He's dissembling there in front of the press now that certain uncomfortable questions are being asked, if just so that the press can maintain even a shred of credibility. But for the people who are criticizing his answers, what else is he going to say? The guy's lied about all the most important things in his life. He's lied for decades, and he continues to lie today. What's he supposed to say other than, whoopsie daisy, you can't trust me?
He's a serial fabulist. He lied about being a retired command sergeant major, which is a post he only held temporarily and didn't actually earn. He's not allowed to call himself that. He lied about carrying a weapon in war. He carried a weapon, presumably as a National Guardsman, but he never went to war. He lied about the IVF thing when he'd only had IUI. His wife had IUI, which is a totally different procedure. He lied about getting a commendation from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, which wasn't true. Now he lies about going to China 30 times when, in fact, it was half that, 15, which he was forced to admit when the Minnesota public radio folks called him up to say, where's the evidence that it was 30? And his campaign, after weeks of delaying, had to admit it wasn't 30. Now it's only 15. Now you hear him saying that. He lied about being in China when Tiananmen Square happened. And it appears he even lied about his son witnessing a school shooting, a shooting, which it was a comment he made when they were discussing school shootings at the vice presidential debate on Tuesday night. That's what the subject was, the school shootings. And this is where Tim Walz took it. A lot of people, I'm going to confess, members of my own team, people I was with, were like, I don't believe it, because he does embellish over and over again. And it appears this was yet another instance of it. Here's what he said, and then we'll do the fact check.
Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the Sandy Hook parents, and they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead, and they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president is. We understand that the Second Amendment is there, but our first responsibility is to our kids to figure this out.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. So. Christ have mercy. It is awful.
Well, it turns out, Paul Sperry at Real Clear Politics tweeted this out first, that the son was inside the community center when this happened. It was a shooting that occurred outside the community center. And it, not for nothing, but it had nothing to do with a school shooting. It was two people involved in some sort of a workplace dispute around the community center. There's just a constant need to embellish, to make it more than it was, so that it makes Tim Walz look better, or like he can relate more to an issue. It's a problem.
Megyn, I think you're being a little nice to Tim Walz here, okay? Embellishment is when you say 50,000 people came to my rally and it was really 47,000. When you say I was in Tiananmen Square when you weren't, when you say my wife and I used IVF when you didn't, when you say I carried weapons in war and you never went to war in a combat zone, it's just a lie.
Kamala Harris is proposing massive tax hikes right now, an almost 40% top income tax rate, almost 40% on top of what you pay for the state. 7% increase to the corporate tax, a capital gains tax on unrealized gains for some. And then there's the fact that she's proposing to add almost $2 trillion to a current $2 trillion deficit. You might be thinking it's time to make more of your savings tax sheltered and inflation sheltered, for that matter. That's why I want to tell you about Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold will assist you in converting an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. And the best news is you don't pay 1 penny out of pocket. Just text the letters MK to 989898 and get a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just information on fortifying your savings before the crazy reality hits. Well, before the crazy really hits. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. Just text MK to the number 989898 for your free info kit today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.